You know that feeling, right? That little dopamine hit from a new notification, the satisfaction of a one-click purchase, the hypnotic endless scroll. We're living in an age of right now, and we're constantly being pulled in by the siren song of the present moment. So, what's the real cost of this constant need for now? Let's get into it. This quote from an online discussion, it just nails it. It suggests that this simple act of stepping back, of not immediately chasing the next thing, that's become a radical act. It perfectly frames the tension we all feel, that pressure to be constantly on versus our very real need for stillness. So this is the big question we're digging into. Why has our culture kind of conditioned us to feel that delaying something good is, well, a bad experience? Why does the promise of a small reward right now so often win out over a much bigger one in the future? To figure this out, we've got to look at the world we've built around ourselves. All right, so first up, let's dive into this idea that we're living in what some social critics are calling an impulse society. The idea here, drawn from some sharp analysis in the American Scholar, is that our whole system is geared towards instant returns. Just think about it. Wall Street's obsession with quarterly earnings instead of long-term health, or a consumer economy that basically depends on you buying the next new thing right this second. We're taught to prioritize what feels good in the moment and just kind of ignore the consequences down the road. Seriously, think about it. Consumer culture is designed to remove any and all friction. Fast food, on-demand everything. The message is loud and clear. Struggle is bad, ease is good. And this constant focus on immediate pleasure, on avoiding any discomfort, can really trap us in a cycle where even thinking about the future feels like this huge, unnecessary burden. So why are we so susceptible to all this? Let's look at the science. Because it turns out modern technology is expertly hacking our ancient, prehistoric brain wiring. So here's the deal from a psychology perspective. Our brains evolved in an environment where immediate survival was everything. A bird in the hand was literally worth two in the bush. This anti-future bias was a huge evolutionary advantage back then. But today, in our world of easy credit and endless notifications, it's our Achilles heel. And the impulse society exploits it constantly. It's one thing to know this bias exists, right? But it's another thing entirely to see just how easily it can be switched on by our environment. And a study from UCLA gives us a really fascinating look at just how powerful these simple, everyday cues can be. The setup was pretty straightforward. Researchers first got a baseline by showing participants something neutral, like a glass of water. Then they brought in the real cues, the sight and smell of the person's favorite beer. And finally, they used a task to measure exactly how much the participants valued that alcohol in that moment. And the results? They were pretty striking. After just seeing and smelling the beer, the maximum amount participants were willing to spend on alcohol, which is a direct measure of its value to them, jumped significantly. It just goes to show that the mere cue of an immediate reward is enough to dramatically crank up our desire for it. Okay, so our brains are easily triggered, but what's the real cost of constantly giving in? Well, this leads us to something that some researchers call the happiness trap. We're all chasing one thing, but we might be sacrificing something way more valuable in the process. Now, this is fascinating. Research has found some really surprising differences between what people associate with a happy life versus a meaningful one. On one hand, happiness is often linked to right now, to having your needs met, to being a taker. It's about life feeling easy. But then you look at the other side, a meaningful life. That involves your past, present, and future. It's associated with being a giver and, get this, with higher levels of stress and struggle. Why? Because you're invested in things beyond your own immediate comfort. And that's the trap right there. This constant chase for the easy, happy, present-focused life, it becomes an endless, unfulfilling task. Like Sisyphus pushing that boulder up the hill forever. Each little hit of gratification is fleeting, and it just requires another, faster one to take its place, leaving very little room for anything deeper. So, if the chase is a trap, what's the alternative? Well, it starts with that powerful idea we opened with, that in this system, choosing to slow down is actually a form of rebellion. In our culture, we've totally romanticized overwork. We all do it, right? We humble brag about being swamped or having no time, like it's a badge of honor. Busyness has somehow become a sign of importance, a way to signal our value in this super productive world. But when you peel back the layers, hustle culture is a pretty damaging trap. It frames rest not as essential, but as laziness, something to feel guilty about. It squeezes out the space we need for deep thought, for creativity. And let's be honest, it serves a system that benefits from getting every last drop of our productivity, usually at the expense of our own well-being.
And this just sums up the solution perfectly. It's all about a fundamental shift in our mindset. We have to reframe rest and downtime, not as wasted time, but as the essential fuel for new ideas, for mental health, and for the very creativity that hustle culture pretends to value so much.
Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, but how do we actually do it? How do we move from just talking about rebellion to actually reclaiming our focus and our time? Let's talk about playing the long game. One really powerful framework for this is called essentialism. As the author Greg McKeown puts it, it's not another productivity hack. It's a whole new strategy for life. It's about systematically figuring out what is truly essential and then having the courage to get rid of everything else. And the process is simple, but that doesn't mean it's easy. First, you have to take the time to really explore what actually matters to you. Then comes the tough part, elimination. This is all about learning to say no, maybe to a good opportunity that just isn't the right opportunity for you. And finally, you execute. You channel all that time and energy you've reclaimed into the few things that will truly make a difference. And look, you don't have to overhaul your entire life overnight. The journey to a more disciplined, future-focused life can start with really small, practical habits. You see tips like these shared all the time in online communities. They're simple actions that create structure and build momentum in your day-to-day routine. I love this way of thinking about it. It's like compound interest for your life. Every small act of discipline, making your bed, planning your day, it's like a small deposit in an account. By itself, it seems tiny. But over time, all those actions compound, building this amazing foundation of order and intention that pays off with massive returns in clarity, focus, and control over your own life. And that really brings us to the final thought here. The impulse society is built on a premise that just can't last, that we can keep chasing more, faster, forever. Pushing back against that takes a conscious, personal plan. So the real question is, are we going to let the system keep running us, or are we finally going to start running ourselves?